Now, in my opinion, I think the Romans created 3 legendary Italian dishes. 2 of them you've probably heard of, which is your carbonara and your cacio e pepe. But you may not have heard of the third, which is pasta alla Gricia. You don't hear about it as much as the other 2, but I can guarantee you it's just as tasty. It's only 4 ingredients, 5 if you include the salt, because there'll be someone out there that goes, oh, you added salt, therefore it's 5, not 4. It takes 10 minutes to make, and it's the tips. So that's what I'm going to show you how to make. Come on, pasta alla Gricia. Okay, so ingredients wise then, we've got our pasta. Okay, you can use any pasta you like. I'm using some rigatoni. You could use spaghetti, linguine, fusilli, penne. Just kind of use what pasta you like. Got pecorino romano. You can use parmesan, but this is the legit cheese to use. If you use parmesan, it's going to change the taste, but I guess it's kind of an acceptable substitute. But if you can get this, use it. I've got some pancetta here. Now, before anybody starts, Italians out there, right? I know I should use guanciale. But here in Britain, at least, it's not like super accessible. You can't really get it in the supermarkets, or the ones that I've been to anyway. So I'm using a nice piece of pancetta, which is an acceptable substitute, I would say. Find a piece of pancetta that's nice and fatty like this. See those 2 nice thick white lines? That is pure fat. All right, that's where the flavour is. We've got some black pepper, and for those people who are going to moan, oh, you've got salt, so that's 5 ingredients. Yes, we're adding some salt as well. So first things first, we need to get this out of its packet. You can use like the little pre-diced cubes if you want, but if you can get a block like this, it just, you know, it's got better control really. And I'm just going to take off this top rind, this skin, because that's just going to be quite tough. Really. So just nip that off. And the first thing I'm going to do is cut it into thickish strips. You don't want them too small and too thin, because otherwise they're just going to kind of disappear into the dish and you're not going to get that crunch. So nice thick strips, and then cut each piece into like a nice thick lardon, because the problem is with the supermarket ones sometimes is they're a bit small. Okay, what a nice thick boy, nice big boy like this, until you've got something like that. Next you want a pan. Ideally you want like a sort of shallow-sided pan with a handle that you can flip and sort of toss the pasta in. I've got one, but it stinks of fish because I cooked kippers in it, didn't I? And I still haven't cleaned it up properly, so I'm using this. So what I'm going to do is toast off some peppercorns. Now, it's quite a peppery dish this, but add as much or as little as you can handle. So I'm going to go in with about, I'd say, what's that, about a teaspoon. And I'm going to turn the heat on to a moderate heat, I'd say about a 4. And we're going to toast them off for like about a minute or so, just until they start to smell fragrant. For God's sake, don't burn them. Burn them, they're going to taste bitter and acrid. Okay, so after about a minute or so, they're smelling nice and fragrant. So I'm going to pop them into my little whizzer thing here. You can use a pestle and mortar for this, if you haven't got one of these machines, but this just kind of makes short work. So spoon those into there. Pepper, done. Next thing, you've got a pan here, cold pan. I'm going to pop our pancetta in, or guanciale, so that's what you're using. Again, I'm going to pop the heat onto a moderate heat, sort of 3 or 4. And the reason you add it to a cold or cool pan is we want to slowly render out the fat. If you were to just kind of put this into a hot pan, it's going to crisp up too soon and that fat's not going to have a chance to melt. So that's why we're doing that. You don't need any oil at all, because look at how much fat's on that pancetta. Just kind of play around with it for a few minutes or so, and you should start to see lots of fat coming out. You may end up with too much, but just drain it off and use it for your roast spuds or something. Now look, after just a few minutes, you can see how crispy that pancetta's gone. But also importantly, look at all that fat that's come out. And we're going to use some of that. There is too much in there, really, for what we need, but we are going to use it. So I'm going to turn the heat off. I'm just going to scoop that out just onto a plate or into a bowl, lined with a bit of kitchen paper, just to drain off that excess fat. You want these to stay nice and crispy. Next you want to take a pot and then use your drill, just fill this with water for our pasta. Get that onto the hob, switch it onto max. Also going to add some salt to that. In we go. Whack in there loads of salt. And once the water's boiling, chuck in your pasta. There you go. And then cook your pasta to packet instructions, less about 2 minutes. You still want the pasta to be just a teeny tiny bit undercooked, because we're going to finish it off in the pan. And I've drained the fat off from the pancetta that we cooked off earlier. You can see it's quite a bit there. So we're probably going to use, I don't know, say about half. Why aren't you focusing on this object, camera? Focus. Yeah, so we're going to use about half of that. And then whilst the pasta's cooking, we're going to take our pecorino and then just grate in a metric foot ton of this pecorino romano. You want quite a lot because you want it to be nice and rich. But you also want to grate it nice and fine. This will just help it melt through the dish much better. And take your black pepper that you whizzed up earlier, chuck that in. And then just take a ladle, spoon, whatever, and add a little bit of the pasta water. Just a little bit at a time. Get a spoon or a fork and just kind of mix it in. Okay, and it'll start to form a bit of a paste. Okay, and just add a little bit more. You kind of want it to be like a thick cream, a very thick cream. So just keep adding a bit at a time. Now just going to see if our pasta's ready or not. You want it kind of cooked about 90% of the way. Okay, the only way you're going to test if that's done is to give it a bit of a taste. I'm going to take a piece out. Shit. Ah, that's hot. Get it in your gob. That probably needs about another minute or so, but it's almost there. You almost want it to be slightly inedible, okay, before it's ready for the next step. And I'm going to add about half of the fat from the pancetta back in, and also my pasta is now ready, so I'm going to take it out of here and straight into that fat. And I need to do a bit of jiggery pokery here and move things around, so be right back. So I've got everything ready. So I'm basically going to make an emulsification. Cheese, fat and water. I'm going to add our guanciale back in. It's not guanciale, is it? It's pancetta. Start mixing that through. I'm going to add a bit of our cheese lumpy stuff. Now what I forgot to mention at this point is to make your life a lot easier than mine, is make sure that the temperature is very, very low in the pan, or even off. If you've got a thick pan like this, just use the residual heat. Because if the heat is too high, that's when your cheese splits and it becomes a lumpy, horrible mess. So nice and gently, low temperature. And also some of our pasta water. This is a gradual process, this. Okay, just keep mixing it through. And this is going to create our cream. You might get kind of stringy bits in there and stuff, but don't worry, it'll come good. And as the starch comes out, look, that water and cheese will kind of make a thickish sort of sauce on the bottom. Keep going. Just take your time with it. And add a little bit more pasta water and a bit more of our cheese paste, and just keep repeating this. Just keep it going until you get that desired creamy consistency. You might want it a bit runny, you might want it a bit thicker. Just take your time with it. And that pasta will cook in the residual heat. And so after a few minutes of doing that, of continuously add a bit of cheese, add a bit of pasta water, keep stirring, you should get something nice and creamy. It should sound a bit sloppy, okay? Then you know that you're at the right consistency. You might get the odd lump or two in there, but honestly, don't sweat about it. So then all it's a case of doing is dishing this up. Just get some of your pasta into the bowl. And of course it'd be rude not to finish it off with some more pecorino. And it's as easy as that. Pasta alla Gricia. That is super, super good. And much like carbonara, you don't need cream. The creaminess comes from the emulsification of the fat, the water, the cheese, and a bit of time, a bit of patience. But listen, I'm going to shoot off because that's my dinner. So I'll see your gorgeous faces next time. Ta-ra for now.